Let's bring in Republican Congresswoman from New York, Claudia Tenney. She is a member of the House Committees on Small Business and Foreign Affairs. Congresswoman, you just heard the governor there saying, I never meant to make anyone feel uncomfortable. It wasn't exactly a denial of some of the allegations against him.
Yeah, the governor is defiant, but the walls are closing in on him. I give credit to finally Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins coming out and calling for his resignation. The House Assembly Speaker, a very powerful man, Carl Hastie, came just short of calling for his resignation and joining the chorus of many of us who have already called for his resignation, including me for several weeks and for years, actually, when I served in the State Assembly, for so many other abuses of power that the governor has committed while he was the governor of our state. But at this point, the Working Families Party, which is the fourth party on the line, so-called in New York State, probably the tail that wags the dog on the Democratic side, represents a lot of the progressives, has now come out and demanded if the governor does not resign, they are calling for an impeachment. And so the governor has got a lot of pressure on him. It's up to Carl Hastie to bring that to the floor in the House, in the Assembly chamber, and we'll see if that happens.
Well, it's not just, the Working Families Party and other organizations like that. The New York Democratic Assemblyman Ron Kim tweeted this. He says, Cuomo should do the right thing and resign while we investigate his wrongdoings. If not, we now have a constitutional duty to pursue impeachment. That's not coming from a Republican. That's a fellow Democrat in the New York legislature.
Right. The Working Families Party is critical for most Democrats to get elected in their districts. If the Working Families Party were to put up somebody against one of these Democrats in a primary, they could very well lose. That's about the only way to take them out in New York City, where it's largely dominated by Democrats. Republicans have been calling for the governor's resignation. I've been calling for it for several weeks now over the nursing home scandal. This is just icing on the cake. And I do have to question, though, there are a lot of women coming out in support of impeachment, and certainly kudos to Ron Kim, to Janice Dean, and others who have been standing strong on this. But where's Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul? She's been all but silent on this issue and hasn't really come out and taken a position. And in the event that the governor resigns or is impeached, Kathy Hochul would ascend to being the governor of New York State. And she has not weighed in on this really critical issue, nor has she weighed in on the nursing home policy that has left so many dead and so needlessly after the governor's policy of March 25th. There's a lot of questions out there, and I would call for Kathy Hochul to stand up and take a position on this at this point.
Mike Huckabee, a Fox News contributor and also the former governor of Arkansas, says that he is somewhat concerned. He thinks that the nursing home scandal is the greater wrong here, and that it's being obscured by all of this discussion of the governor's alleged sexual harassment. Listen to Governor Huckabee.
I think his bigger problem is this nursing home scandal. And the reason is because as bad as those other things were, it has to do with his personal life. But this has to do, the nursing home scandal, with his professional judgment, with his duties as governor, and the fact that thousands of people died because of very poor judgment on his part. And then the worst thing than the crime itself is the cover-up.
What do you think about the governor's thoughts there?
I agree with the governor. Look, I do not want to minimize sexual harassment. And these women, of course, have allegations that haven't been proven. The governor, of course, has his right to due process. But I think Governor Huckabee is right. And I've been saying all along, there has been a lot that this governor has done over the last 11 years. The nursing home scandal just might be his worst. And the cover-up and the lying and the falsification of records that has gone on by him and his inner circle, and then the bullying and the attempt to blame others for it. This is typical of Governor Cuomo. This is the same governor who many years ago was caught up in a pay-to-play scandal in New York. He created a corruption commission, and then when the corruption commission got close to exposing him, he shut it down. He said, this is my commission. So we have a lot going on with the governor. This is a pattern of behavior. The sexual harassment issues should be taken seriously. Due process is required. The governor famously said that Justice Kavanaugh should submit to a polygraph test. He demanded the resignation of former disgraced Attorney General Eric Schneiderman when it was revealed there were sexual harassment issues with him. and he has called for the resignation of others, and he stood out on the sexual harassment issue. I might add, in a 2018 speech, the governor emphasized how important it was that our girls, especially his daughters, should not live in a world where sexual harassment is allowed. And here's the governor in his own situation. But again, Governor Huckabee is on it. This is right. There are so many other things that are also equally serious and maybe more serious when it comes to a governing aspect of what's going on in New York State.
Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, Republican of New York and a former member of the New York State Legislature. Congresswoman, thank you.